Hello dear students of class 9th, welcome to geography class. I hope all of you are fit and healthy. Students, in this video, I am going to start with a new chapter from your geography book. That is chapter number 5th, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife. So students, let me tell you that this chapter is going to be a very interesting chapter, because in this chapter we are going to study about our environment, about the vegetation and wildlife basically of our country. Alright. So students, before I start with the chapter, it is very important to understand the heading. Once you understand the heading, then you can understand the theme of the chapter. That means what is the chapter all about. So it is very important, very necessary to understand the topic. So as the chapter name says, natural vegetation and wildlife. So there are two words. First word is vegetation and the second one is wildlife. Now what do you understand by these two words, vegetation and wildlife? See, vegetation means the greenery that is present around you. That means the plants, trees, the forests, means whatever greenery, whatever plants, trees that are present in our environment, that refers to as vegetation. Alright. And if I talk about wildlife, then wildlife means the animals from small to big. Even that means it includes even rats and elephants also. That means from the smallest animal to the biggest or the largest animal. But let me tell you one thing, the animals that are not domesticated, that means the animals that are not kept as pets. Now if you suppose you have a dog, so you will say that this is the wildlife. No, that is your personal dog, that is domesticated. But the animals that are not domesticated, that are found in the natural ecosystem, refers to wildlife. So I hope you understood the theme of the chapter, that what we are going to study in this chapter. So we are basically going to study about the vegetation, different types of plants, what type of plants are found in which region, and as well as the animals that are found in different regions. Alright, so this is all we are going to study. Now students, when it comes to the natural vegetation and wildlife, let me tell you that India is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries in the world. Now what is the meaning of mega biodiversity? Now see, if you need to understand any term, you need to check its literal meaning, and we need to divide the term. If we divide a term, then it makes us easier for, if we divide the term, then it really helps us to understand the meaning. For example, mega biodiversity. If I divide this term, first term is mega. What is the meaning of mega? Mega means big, huge, large. That is called mega. Bio means the entire biosphere in which we live. And diversity, that means variety. The variety of plants, the variety of animals that are present in our environment. So India is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries. So mega biodiversity means a country that has large vegetation as well as wildlife. That refers to mega biodiversity. Number of species of plants and as well as animals, birds, fishes. So that is called as mega biodiversity. So students, there are 12 countries, and you can also find in some books it is mentioned 17, but in this NCERT book it is mentioned 12. So we will keep in mind 12 only. So the 12 countries means there are several countries like China, Costa Rica, Brazil, Indonesia, India and several others. So this is your work to find out the 12 mega biodiversity countries in the world. So let's get back to the topic. So as I told you that India is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries, but why it is considered as mega biodiversity countries? Because India has a huge variety of, India has a huge diversity of plants and animals. How? See, you know, there are about 47,000 plant species in our country, and which makes or which gives us the 10th position or 10th rank in the world. Just imagine 47,000 plant species. Then if I go to the flowering plants, then India has 15,000 flowering plants, which constitute about 6% of the world plants, right? So that means that India has a wide species of plants and animals. And if I talk about the animals, then India has about 90,000 species of animals as well as rich variety of fish. And fish includes the marine water fish as well as the freshwater fish. Now, what is the difference between freshwater and marine water? Fresh water means the water that is present in the streams, rivers, ponds, in which the salt content is very less. Salt content is very less. And if I talk about the marine water, then it includes seas and oceans, where the salt content is very high. So, India has rich diversity in fishes also, both marine as well as freshwater fish. So we can say that India has huge diversity of natural vegetation as well as wildlife, and this huge diversity is a matter of study. So since we have a huge diversity, so we should study that what we have, the different varieties, in which region, what type of plant or what type of animals are found. So this we have to study. So I hope the introduction part of this chapter is clear to everybody. So we are basically going to deal with the species of plants, the species of animals that are present. All right. So students, let me tell you that what all we are going to study in this chapter. As you can see here, the topics are mentioned. The first one is virgin vegetation. Then after that, I am going to deal with the factors responsible for huge biodiversity. We have such a huge biodiversity. We are one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries. Then what are the factors that are responsible? What are the factors that help our country to make it a biodiversity country? So we are going to study about several factors, in which we are basically going to study about two factors, that is relief and the second one is climate. Under relief, we are going to study about land and soil, and under climate, we are going to study about temperature, sunlight and precipitation. After that, we will study about ecosystem, and after that about the types of vegetation or the types of forest, in which there are 5 types. The first is tropical evergreen forests, second one is tropical deciduous forest, the third one is tropical thorn forest and scrubs, the fourth one is montane forest, and the fifth one is mangroves forest. So this is one part of the chapter. After covering this part, we will move to the next part, that is wildlife. What is the name of the chapter? Natural vegetation and wildlife. So till here we have vegetation part, and after this we have the next part, that is wildlife. So we will study about wildlife in India, then the importance of wildlife, why it is so important, why it is necessary. If it will not be there, then what will happen? Will it cause any damage? Will it cause any harm to the environment, to the ecosystem or not? Then we are going to study about the threats, that what are the threats or the challenges that are faced by the wildlife as well as the vegetation. And then we will see the steps for conservation. That means what we can do, everybody can do to conserve the environment, to save the environment, to save the natural vegetation and wildlife of the country. So I hope the introduction part is clear to everybody. So students, let us start with the first topic of vegetation, that is virgin vegetation. See, you already know the meaning of vegetation. Vegetation means plant community. Now we have another word, a new word, that is virgin. Now what is the literal meaning of virgin? Virgin means untouched, and we are talking about the plant community. But before that, let me tell you that all the plant communities are not virgin vegetation. Now why am I saying this? In order to understand this, you need to know the meaning of virgin vegetation. So as I told you that virgin means untouched. So virgin vegetation means the vegetation which grows naturally without human aid and has been left undisturbed by humans for a long period of time, refers to virgin vegetation. That means the vegetation, that means the plants that grows naturally without human interference, without any scientific method, without any artificial methods. So that type of vegetation is called as virgin vegetation, in which human interruption, human disturbance is not there. And let me tell you that virgin vegetation is also called as natural vegetation. Okay, so if question comes in your exam regarding natural vegetation, so do not get confused. Virgin vegetation and natural vegetation are the same. So students, such type of vegetation is called as virgin vegetation. So we can say that cultivated crops and fruits, they are parts of vegetation, but they are not virgin vegetation, because in that human interference is there, human aid is there. Alright. Now students, virgin vegetation is classified into two parts. The first one is endemic or indigenous species, and the second one is exotic plants. Now what is the difference between the two? Let us see the first one, that is endemic or indigenous species. See, from this word only you can understand indigenous, that means related to India. So the virgin vegetation which are purely Indian, the vegetation, the plant community that is purely Indian, refers to endemic or indigenous species. For example, the alpines which are in the Himalayas. So that is an example. Now let us come to the next classification, that is exotic plants. So exotic plants means the plant species which have come from outside India, that refers to exotic plants. Now how will the plants come from some other parts of the country? It may come via human beings, birds, animals, through any means. If they come to our land and then it grows on our land, then that type of vegetation is called as exotic plants vegetation. Alright. So I hope the two classification of virgin vegetation is clear to everybody. Now students, there are two terms. The first term is flora and the second term is fauna. Okay. Now these are not new terms for you. You have already studied about these two terms. But still many students get confused between flora and fauna. So let me just revise for you that flora means the plant of a particular region. Plants means flora, and fauna means the species of animals. So one is plant and other is animal. Flora is plant, flora means plants, and fauna means animals. Alright. Now students, the diversity of flora and fauna is due to two reasons, or there are two factors that influence the diversity of flora and fauna in any country, and the two factors are relief and climate. Now students, you must have observed that polar bear, it can survive where? It can survive in cold regions. Polar bear cannot survive in the southern part, the hotter part of the country. It is not possible. And if I talk about coconut tree, where are coconut trees basically found? They are found in the southern part. You will not find coconut trees in the northern part. So, different animals, different species of plants and animals can survive at a particular place, at a particular region due to several factors. As per the factors, the plants or the animals or the vegetation of a particular place depends. Alright. For example, let me talk about camel. Camel can easily survive in the arid regions, that means the deserts, right? But camel cannot go to the northern part of the country. There it cannot survive. The capacity of camel is there to survive in the hotter parts, but not in the colder parts of the country. So all this diversity depends on two factors which we are going to study now. The first factor is relief and the second factor is climate. So first we will study about relief. So students, first let us talk about relief. Now what is relief? Students, you have already studied about relief in the previous chapter. See, relief is the difference between the highest and the lowest points on a landscape. Alright, for example, as you can see here land is there and here we have mountains on a higher altitude. So the difference between the highest and the lowest point, that refers to relief. Alright, see, it refers to the way the landscape changes in height. The vegetation of land of this part will be completely different with the vegetation of the mountainous region. For example, let me talk about the desert. The vegetation of desert will be completely different with that of the vegetation which is found in hilly areas. The plants will be different, the animals will be different. In desert, cactus is grown, thorny bushes are grown, but those thorny bushes, cactus, they cannot be grown on Himalayas. It is not possible to grow, right? And if we move to the mountainous region, to the higher altitude, towards a higher altitude, then we find what? The vegetation is completely different. The plants, the structure of plants, they are completely different. They are basically coniferous plants, means like cones. So relief definitely influences the vegetation of any place. So students, in relief we are going to study about two components, or you can say that there are two components in relief. The first component is land and the second component is soil. So we are going to study about these 2 points in relief. So students, let's start with land. Land means land in general, that means the surface of the earth. It means the land of a plain area, land of plateau, land of mountain, any type of land, whatever land is there, that will come under this. And if I talk about soil, then soil means, or soil is the sub classification of land. Alright, see, if I talk about land, then the nature of land influences the type of vegetation. As I told you that vegetation in Himalayas will be completely different with the vegetation in the central part of our country or in the southern part of the country as per the land. And if I talk about the soil, see, soil also varies in different areas. There are different types of soils. For example, red soil, black soil, laterite soil, yellow soil, arid soil. There are different types of soils, and different soil supports different types of plants. For example, let me talk about sandy soil. In sandy soil, thorny bushes can be grown, right, which is basically found in the arid region, the desert region. Then if I talk about the deltaic soil, then there mangroves can grow. It is related to the coastal areas. If I talk about the black soil, then black soil is fit for growing cotton. So cotton plants can be grown in black soil. So there are different varieties of soil, and as per the soil, the vegetation of different places I'm saying again. So students, there are different types of soils, and on the basis of the type of soil, the vegetation of every region differs. Alright, so I hope you understood about relief, that how relief influences the vegetation of a particular place. Alright, if land will be different of, I'm saying again, see, land of two areas will result in different type of vegetations, and if I talk about soil, then soil of two different areas will also result in two different types of vegetation. So I hope this relief part is clear to everybody. Now students, in the next video I shall be continuing with this topic, and I shall explain you about climate. Till then, thank you so much. I hope and expect that all the points that are dealt in, and I'm saying again. So students, in the next video I shall be continuing with this topic, and I shall be dealing with climate. So I hope all the points that are explained in this video are clear to everybody. Thank you so much. I'll meet you in the next video. Thank you, and stay connected.